Where Arts and Adventure summits the airwaves. This is the Ogden Arts and Adventure Show. I am R. Brandon Long, along with
Todd Oberndorfer.
We are your hosts for the greatest arts and adventure podcast in all the land. Joining us, oh yeah. Wait, I had a thing. I don't know where the thing went. There it is.
There it is.
There we go. A little behind. God, it just keeps going too. They never stop. They just keep going. It's pretty great. Okay, so our guest with us here in studio, this is fun. This is actually arts and adventure. We have Colton and Noah. I was going to say Colton and Noah Pollard, but it's Colton Edwards and Noah Pollard. They're not married yet. So Alpinists, and their claim to fame is Denali, pretty much? Yeah. Or do you want to go with Bridal now?
Oh, that's the claim to fame for ice climbing. But
yeah.
I'd say Denali and the Eiger is
Denali and the Eiger.
Yeah.
Beginners. Go do something hard. Okay.
Give us something to talk about.
Yeah,
man.
I mean, come on. Okay, and then Ogden Contemporary Arts Artist in Residence. And Luis, I'm so sorry. You're going to have to pronounce your full name because I got the Luis Alvaro Nuno. But
thank you. Luis Alvaro Sahagun Nuno. Thank you.
It's
going to be a fun talk, though, because, like, Denali, I'm from the hood, so I'm like, you got Denali? What kind of rims you got on that thing?
Yeah, let's start there. What kind of Rams are on Denali?
24s, dude.
Oh, my God, that's fantastic. I don't, sorry, I had the wrong camera on you. What kind of Rams? Is that what you were saying?
Rams.
Rams, yeah. What
Denali,
kind of Rams?
I like that, yeah.
What kind of Rams you got on Denali?
He was saying rims like the
Rims.
Yeah, I don't know what a
rims.
ram is, but I thought that was like the Ogden term. I don't know Ogdenites.
I'm so with you now. What kind of rims you got on your Denali? Oh my God, 100%. What kind of rims you got on your Denali?
Oh, I don't know, the 24s.
The 24s? I don't.
Chromed out 30s all the way.
The chrome 30s.
Maybe some spinners. I don't know.
Luis, where are you from? Like originally?
Originally, I grew up in Chicago. I was born in Mexico, Guadalajara, Jalisco. Arriba las Chivas, right? Similar to Denali. But yeah, I grew up in Chicago since I was 4 years old.
Until when did you move?
Recently, up in 2020.
Oh, okay.
Chicago.
So, yeah, 4 years old. That's young. So you're Chicago.
Yeah, Chicagoan, yeah.
Yeah. So So you weren't in Guadalajara long then. So it's like, have you spent a lot of time trying to, embrace that original culture that you were born into?
Yeah, well, I've always embraced it. Like I grew up in it's actually like, we call it the mirror city of Chicago. It's called Chicago Heights. So it's like city of immigrants. We have Italian, Polish, black folks, Mexican. So like for us in these neighborhoods, right, like especially in Chicago, there's a history of segregation, history of like different cultures in different neighborhoods. So my neighborhood was always like Mexican neighborhood. So it's like, for me growing up was like, I was fully embraced. Like I learned Spanish before I learned English. And so once I left the household, that's when I was like, oh, like kind of how I was talking about earlier. Like I left 25th Street and I was like, oh, it feels so different.
He's been hanging out at Oka for so long, and then finally he left and took an Uber to Michael's, which is which is where you go. When you want to explore O-Town, you go there first. But yeah, you get out of 25th Street. There's like some shit to see in this town a little bit.
Yeah.
So
In and out. That was exciting. Just like, yeah.
Did you get it animal style? Did you try animal style yet? The burger.
Yeah. Did you go through the In-N-Out? Or
no. So what happened was I saw In-N-Out, got super excited. I started walking there and I saw the Chinese buffet. And I was like, I don't know. It's been a while. So I got some Chinese buffet.
I love it. Well, you have, Luis, you're setting up right now, right? In Oka for this is Todd's World gallery opening on Friday.
Friday, yeah. I haven't peeked in there yet. You going to be ready for Friday?
I'm ready now.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. It's installed. Ready to go.
You excited?
Yeah, I'm super excited.
Now, the work that you put up in the space together for us, new work? work that you put together during your residency, or work that you brought with you?
Yeah, no, all new work. It's a 2-month residency, so I've been working really hard and connecting with the community, making work, trying also to experiment, to be adventurous. And
this is a good point. You know what? We screwed up, Todd, because we didn't talk to him first when he got here, like day one, so that he could really, be one with the community before he started on any of his art.
But it's a good time to reflect and look back. So how long have you been here? When did your residency start?
Started January 5th, so almost exactly 2 months.
So you're getting right at the end.
Yeah.
When do you take off?
I leave on March 1st, the first Friday.
Friday. Like after the opening?
Yeah.
Are you really? They're kicking you out.
They're like, get out of here. Like, time's up. Yeah, get out.
Time's up.
It's like, you had your fun.
Don't let the garage door hit you on the way out.
It's like, thank you, goodbye.
So give us a little taste of what you thought of Ogden, what you thought of your time in Ogden, Contemporary Arts. Have you had a good time?
He's all no shit. Like,
I was trying to come up with something witty, but no, absolutely. It's been amazing. Like, residencies are such a gift, right? I have the luxury and privilege to come to a town like Ogden, where I get to dedicate 2 months to just my practice. So that is a gift of time, gift of resources and community. So it's kind of hard to not already be in a position where you're happy and you're enjoying all of these new adventures. Oka's been amazing. Ogden's incredible. I never been anywhere that's been so close to the mountains. To just I'm living here on 25th Street, and just to wake up in the morning and see these amazing mountains, like seeing the sunset hit, like I just have to stop and just stare, and it's just like it's incredible. Like I've never been near mountains that feel so close. Like I feel like you could throw a rock at it, it's just like it's amazing. And so I think that Ogden for me will always be a place where I feel so connected to the land and to the mountains, and it's just the energy that is giving off has been really beautiful. Yeah.
So let's get to know you a little bit as an artist. And so we could talk a little bit about how you got the residency, but let's go back, even further. And so artists in your family, did you start this trend? Do you remember anything art-wise before Chicago? When did this all start for you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have, I don't know. I could look at it both ways as I don't really have artists in the family, but also I think in many ways I have a lot of people in my family that are artists, right? I think it's how do we define art?
Oh, 100%.
Artists, right? Yeah. So a lot of my work is rooted in this DIY aesthetics, or thinking of making something happen creatively, or making beauty out of being resourceful, out of just using what you have to create beauty around you. And so with that, when I look at my father, who's a farm worker, my mother was a farm worker too, working in construction, my mother working in restaurants, just creativity being expanded. And for me, that's the elements that I bring into my work. In my own practice, I try to create an homage to the working class, to thinking of a construction worker as someone who is an artist in themselves, and the craft of that and how beautiful that is. And also making art out of materials that aren't necessarily rooted in traditional Western canon,
give us an example of a project that involves that DIY that you're talking about.
Yeah, so I have the sculpture I made. It's called Lo que grita mi piel. It's that which my skin screams. So it's a sculpture that hangs. It's almost it's a larger than life-size puppet that's created out of just a bunch of cut up 2x4s, always be silicone and caulk, beads, brad nailers, pin nails, brackets, anything you could find at hardware stores. And it's both a celebration of my culture and my ancestors, but at the same time is thinking about the burdens and the heaviness of having to move forward with all these traditions that are rooted in so much sacredness. And it's a piece that is wearable. It's fully wearable. So the mask, it's you could put it, you could wear it as a mask, but it's also almost 50 pounds. So again, it's a metaphor for it's wearable. You put it on, but this thing is super heavy, and how do you navigate, you know? And then also like the body is an armor that you could wear, but you have all the pin nails that's kind of cutting into you. So it's like you put this thing on and like it's protecting you, but it's also like really hurting you and cutting you and like having to deal with the pain. But both.
I see a little symbolism there, my friend.
Huh.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
Have you put it on?
I have not. So I made this sculpture right before COVID, and I had this one of my biggest show ever in Chicago, and I was really excited. And the show opened for about a couple of weeks, and then COVID hit, and I was gonna do a performance where I would wear it and, you know, do some performances with it.
Bleed a little bit for your art.
A little bit, yeah, you know.
Sacrifice the body. So,
Yeah.
I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to see it. So you're addressing everything else. Let's get to know you a little bit before the art as well. And so artists, and this is going to be a surprise for a lot of you that are listening to this, are not all, you know, sort of independently wealthy, right? And so you've done, you've had other jobs, right? So tell me about another job you've done outside of artwork. Outside of your artwork, tell me something gritty. Tell me a nasty job that you've done.
Gosh, how long is this podcast?
Something that's made you, something that's really made you who you are. Not just your parents, you know, they're coming from that as well.
Oh, I mean, I've had so many different jobs. I think what comes to mind is I used to work. I was a construction worker for over like 10 years. I used to work at this company called Best Homes, which thankfully it's out of business.
Wow. So they weren't the best homes.
Yeah, Best Homes, South Holland, Illinois. No,
I love this shout out.
It's like
It's the best with the right choice of words.
So I used to build. We used to build trusses there for homes, right? And it was definitely the hardest job I've ever had in my life. And like when you would start working there. Once I was working there for a little while, when people would come in, they would be hiring, new people would come in all the time. They wouldn't make it till lunchtime and they would leave.
Whoa.
Or like we would always place bets to see like some people would stay after lunch and then they would leave. But like most people wouldn't make it one day. That's how hard this job was. And you also had to be
I thought
really
you were just
creative.
like pranking them all day and giving them crap, and so they all quit. And,
No, it's just such a tough job. And then like, you know, in the south side of Chicago, like the weather, like it's just so hard. And so we're, you know, building, you know, we have all these tools and like these trusses are like 70 foot long. There's these machines that are bringing them out and like you have to stock them and move them. And it's just like physically exhausting. I was like, I think that's really, I have a history of back issues. And I think like that's really where like that kind of pain, I think a lot came from. But I think what, also, like, thinking, you know, going back to, like, the construction worker as a creative person. And, like, the reason I was able to not be one of those folks who, you know, left after lunch, right? It was, like, community. Like, I remember there was this guy, you know, he was, like, at that time I was in college. So he was, like, my dad's age, maybe, like, 40s, like, just kind of heavy build. He was, like, really struggling. And so I stopped what I was doing.
Sounds like me.
Sounds like you. Yeah, I mean, you know, the sun's beaming, it's super hot, and like this guy is doing the best that he can, and like it's really hard job. So I started helping him. And then folks, you know, workers who have been there for many years started noticing. And so it just kind of became this beautiful sort of chain of like people helping each other. And like the reason why, you know, now that I'm saying this out loud, it seems kind of cruel, but there's certain techniques that you needed to know. And like when the trusses would come, like they're so heavy, you're not supposed to lift it with your body because by the time you do this for 2 hours, like you're done. That's why people are leaving because like it's so hard. But there's certain tricks you could do with a nail. Like if you hit a nail right onto the 2x4 underneath, and then you use a hammer to pull the other truss back in front of you, it's super easy to do. So there's all these like little like what we call in Spanish colmillo, just like experience. And so like that's those moments where I'm like super fascinated, right, by like how it connected to my art. It's like about being creative in a very interesting way, in a way where like it doesn't make sense that just this little nail will be able to move this heavy truss, but it did, and it saves you so much time. And like now you can make a living because you're not using your body, you're using your mind and your creativity to create these things. And so like there's also like wood all over the place, and so you're like smelling all the pine and the OSB being
I love
cut.
wood.
Yeah,
Wood smells.
it's great, right?
Wood, really, yeah.
Exactly.
Awesome.
So,
Yeah.
and in my practice, the way that I use it is I use those same materials in my portraits. Like I create these portraits, and like the background, instead of using canvas, I use OSB. And so, and then I buy these frames, and then I cut them up. So it's like reenacting those moments of when I used to work in those places, or like the smells and triggering these memories.
Do you remember the first time you got paid for your art?
Oh,
That's a big day.
that's a big day.
No, it is a big day, and that's part of this, because we'll get into this with our alpinists over there as well. But really, we're curious about people who make a living as an artist and how, or even just make money at all, as an artist. And how did you get from point A to point B? And so, how did you make your first dollar? And you know what I mean? Like, that's a big move. That's a step into like, whoa, I could maybe make a living doing this.
Yeah.
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 Do you remember?
Do I remember? Start crying.
I tried. Yeah. Wow. We didn't mean to cry already.
Started early. Yeah. I mean, I spent many years in Chicago, working with community. Like, I love connecting with people. A lot of my work is rooted in civic engagement, which means it's like, I'm thinking about like what kind of conversations I want to have in art that I think are important to have, and that could, help or empower certain communities or issues that are happening in the community. So I was never really the type of artist that was interested in selling and saying like, oh, I need to make this product that then, gives me money. I was just always been invested in community. And I think that I did that in Chicago for a long time. And it wasn't really until I came across this portrait series that I've been doing lately. And I think it was like a moment where a lot of just, there was this moment where everything intersected for me. So like these portraits are working with the community, but they're also rooted in traditional contemporary art. Mm-hmm. And so they kind of did in some ways become sort of this package, for lack of a better word. I hate that word, but like this package sort of like artifact that was rooted in helping the community, but was also beautiful and was interesting and could also point to having certain conversations with the community or with collectors. And so I had a show in LA that I had these portrait series that I did. And that was like the first time for me where, I still remember I was in Chicago and I was like about to get on the water taxi, which is like,
yeah, we don't have those here.
We don't have those here,
no.
yeah. So
yet.
That's
yet. I mean,
No, we got the opposite problem.
Keep the dream alive.
It's a desert.
And
we'll have like land speeders before we have those.
So, yeah. I'll take that.
Yeah, that sounds fun. But yeah, I was in on a water taxi. It takes you to Chinatown, and it's like a very cheap way to experience Chicago. Anyway, so I started getting all these messages from the galleries like, we just sold the piece, we just sold another piece,
wow.
We just sold another piece, and we sold another one. And I'm like doing the math. like,
yeah.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Drinks on me, everybody. And it was like it was a beautiful moment. I
love that, but you led with community though. Community first.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I think this is like, for me, maybe it's I don't know if it's good. I don't know. So like, I just have never been driven to make money. I know people, I have family members that are just really great at making money, and that's their priority. And I don't see anything wrong with that. I think we all need to live, and we all have to find ways to do that. But I've always just like inherently just been committed to community and to conversations and to people. And I guess I led with that because I think that was really important, because doing that for like 10 years or so, then something kind of finally clicked. And then
wait, did you just say 10 years?
About 10 years.
10 years overnight success?
Yeah, I just woke up one day. I was like, no, it was 10 years.
10 years.
10 years.
Yeah.
Living check to check. I used to teach at 3-4 different places. I used to make art and would never sell. Chicago is rough. It's a beautiful community, but for me at least, there wasn't people like really buying the work or supporting me financially in that way.
How'd you get into a space in LA? That seems like a big leap.
Yeah, so I was fortunate to I have a gallery in New York that represents me, Lasky Gallery, and Amanda Uribe, she put me in contact with this gallery in LA, showed her my work. They were really interested in it, and they asked me to do a show. And it was a really quick turnaround. They asked me to do a show. Right, I was living in California, and I was about to move from California to North Carolina, and they asked me to do this show. So like in about 2.5 months, I moved from one side of the country to the next. And I, without a studio, just produced enough work for one solo show. Usually you have a whole year to do a solo show. And so it was really tough. But it was absolutely worth it, and it was great. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's an amazing story. Let's touch on you mentioned it before, the importance of artists in these residencies, right? I'm a huge fan. I think that everybody should apply as much as possible. There are
like Colton lives in the trailer. He's our podcast resident. So
that's what we need. We need our own sort of podcast. Yeah, it's something to think about. And so, is this something you do? Is this sort of one of your first? What's your experience with residencies? Would you, obviously, I'm guessing you would recommend them to others?
Yeah, I mean, residencies. I've been fortunate to be doing residencies consistently.
Oh, nice.
I think they're really wonderful, but also very challenging. You know, I mean, there's so much to residencies that you probably don't normally think of. You know, like it's like being here. Like I was just describing Ogden, how beautiful everything is, but then also you have to think about, like, at least for me, like being in a new place alone. So you're thinking about, like, for all these things starts creeping in on you, right? That you don't even think about, right? You're here to work, and then first of all, the work ethic you have to bring up. You know, you have to do your own schedule, but then just like daily life, like for example, all of the voices in your head, and in the evening when it gets, you know, when you're by yourself, like all of like this shadow work that kind of sneaks up on you because you're alone. Right, that you normally avoid because maybe you have interaction with people, or you're living with your family, or like all of a sudden you're just like confronted with complete silence, with just you by yourself. And then being an artist is very hard because it's like it's just you. You don't have a team. And then when you have been producing work at a sort of caliber for so long, people are expecting you to like level up or expecting you to continue that, but it's really hard because it's just you. You don't have a team to, you know, I don't have like a fabricator that I could just send, you know, these design plans that they could execute for me. It's like me, every
not yet, my friend.
Not yet. So
I want you to have a fabricator. I want to see twice as much work coming out.
Yeah, thanks. So
is that like a YouTuber podcaster having an editor? You've got like a fabricator, you know?
I have no problem with that.
Right.
Yeah.
I'd love you to focus more.
So there are things that you don't think about, right? It's like but it's real, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, so it's good, but there's some challenges, but it's great.
Let's talk about a challenge since you've been in Ogden. I like the word challenge. And so you know that you've had this show on your calendar, the date circled for March 1st, Friday. Mm-hmm. Any challenges hitting that deadline?
Yeah, it's been a lot of challenges.
Each day that creeps a little closer.
Yeah, I mean, I think 2 months is not. It feels like now. It feels like enough time, but when it's just a solo show in 2 months, right? I just meant like most people do. Like usually the trend is like, or not a trend, but like what's expected is a solo show in a year. So to do one in 2 months, it takes a certain level of like work ethic and commitment. And but also I've been experimenting a lot, so you have to like trust yourself. Like, you know, I don't want to just produce the same work that I always do. What can I do that's different? But what if I do it and I fail, right? And then these people are expecting you to do a really great show, and then it fails, it doesn't look good. Then
wait, because you're at a level of success where you are invited to do these, but yet you still have this like, oh, what if I fail question in your mind?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. What if and I mean, it's like, yeah, I guess it's like thinking about, like, I embrace failure. Like it's something that I actually really like. I mean, it's exciting to try to fail, right?
Oh yeah.
Like adventure, right? We think about adventure. Like for me, if I made the same work every single time, that's gonna become boring. We were talking about this a little bit earlier about just like the I can't remember pronounce this word, but like
Monotony.
homogeny or homogeny
Monotony.
and monotony.
Monotony,
Yeah,
homogeny, yeah. Okay.
So it's like you're in this place where you feel safe, you know, and it's like, how do you continue to grow? So failure is an opportunity for you to learn what works and what doesn't. But when you're confronted with a residency where they're like, oh, well, you have to put up a show, you know, the Oak has been wonderful with like, there's no expectations, right? This is all self-imposed. This is just me coming in, the artist in me.
But that's part of the pitch. As somebody who does run a gallery down in Salt Lake, I have a call for entries coming up in another, gosh, it's just around the corner. It's like end of March, April for 2025, our calendar. And so when I'm going through those proposals, I know that it's for 2025, so that's about a year and a half out, and that's about right? And but at the same time, I'm trusting that the artists can accomplish what they say they can accomplish, right? And so that comes down to, I want something amazing. I want to get inspired and excited, but at the same time, there has to be that level of trust that I'm going to produce, right? And so, as the sort of gallery director or curator, like they'll be there to check in with the artist and to be there for them whenever possible. But it comes down to, what am I capable of? But knowing full well that this idea might evolve a little over a year and a half, but it can't too much because I pitched this idea a year and a half ago, and that's the idea that's sold with the selection committee, et cetera, So it's kind of an interesting way to get
so
into
far out there.
It is, and we want all brand new work. I mean, we're excited about. I mean, I love sort of retrospectives are great, but the idea of new work, we're addressing, topics, ideas that are happening right now.
Listen, I can't just sit down and write a hit song with the snap of fingers.
You do if you commit to doing it.
I guess is that like right?
Yeah,
Is that how a residency works too? It's. You commit to the 2 months, and then all of that is new work. Like you come, you haven't made anything yet, and you just make it.
Yeah. Well, this particular residency for sure. Like there is a proposal you have to submit, a community engagement plan you need to submit.
They're all different. Like sometimes you just can come hang.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right. My brother's done one I think he did one in Norway or something that was just simply get out of your neighborhood, be inspired, be isolated. And see what happens. But I don't even think he had to show necessarily at the end. And so there are so many different kinds of opportunities. Yeah. I think that you're probably more attracted to the community engagement part. And that's the last thing I'd love to hear a little bit about is your engagement, your involvement with the people that we love so much about Ogden. And so how's that interaction been? What have you done and presented on? You did little ceremonies. I'm afraid I wasn't able to catch one of those. I was hoping I would be able to. And so what was the public engagement part of your process?
So I had some tea ceremonies.
I love that.
Yeah. So one of the major sort of topics that I work with is like mixing contemporary art with indigenous or ancient traditions and like wisdom that we get from earth and from earth-based modalities. So that's rooted in my own traditions as well. So for my time here, we wanted to engage with the community, and for me it's like I like doing it like in an individual basis. And so I came up with what we did was a tea ceremony where people from the community could register and come have tea with me. And it was something that I've never done before, something rooted in my traditions that I wanted to play with, experiment with, and really like think about creating a space like not that different than here, where you are engaging on a one-on-one level with this idea of truth telling and looking each other in the eyes and connecting. And for me, like that's really important because growing up as somebody, I talked a little bit about my upbringing, but I grew up undocumented, right? Like I came from Mexico. I was here undocumented. I grew up in these communities where I felt that I didn't belong. I felt really disconnected to my home, my spiritual home, and to my culture. And all of that, right? We live in a time where there's so much pain and so much separation and so much tension. It's like, what happens if we create a space where it's no longer, we're not thinking about racial tensions. We're just thinking about the individual and the humanness of it. And like, I'm holding space for you and you're holding space for me, and we're both just sharing truth. And like, everything goes out the window. You're not thinking about, well, oh, this person is Mexican, this person is white. We're talking about, man, I feel ashamed today. Or like, wow, I feel like this today. I was like, I could relate because I feel like that too. And so we do it over honoring what we call the sacred direction. So there's a medicine wheel that we use, and there's different tribes throughout the Americas that use the medicine wheel, which is the north, east, west, and south. And each direction is connected to an element, right? Earth, wind, fire, and water. And each of these elements is connected to a deity. So we're continually just creating space for each other, and we're honoring the directions. And we're just having a conversation. We're just being two human beings sharing our pain. And it's been really beautiful to connect one-on-one with people like that. And then I would also create a spiritual cleansing with, it's like, I see it as like many different types of different therapies. So like the person is sitting down, I explain to them what's going to happen. We're hanging out, and then like I asked them, I do what's called barrida. Barrida translates to a sweeping. So the idea is that like I do an energy reading, and based on like what you've told me or how you're feeling, I use in my imagination and visualization techniques to imagine that pain on you, and then I use my traditional, like my like traditional methods to try to clear out that energy for you. And so there'll be like drumming involved. There'll be like, I ask for consent to touch certain energetic points, whether they're chakras or different windows that hold energy for you. So it's just like, it just becomes like this moment of trusting and releasing. The barrida, I do a sweeping with plants, so it's also aromatherapy, right? Just sound healing. And then we're also engaging in just like intentional, moving really slow, giving gratitude to the earth, to the plants, honoring where they come from, learning about these plants. The plants that we use for the tea ceremony is all rooted in releasing toxins from your body. So you usually use them for like cold and flu. So like the way that we work is like if this medicine, this plant medicine is releasing these toxins from your body, if you were to also burn it, it's the same kind of cleansing for your aura. Right, so like if you get a plant that's going to release toxins, you burn it, it's going to release toxins like at a metaphysical level. And then we sit down and we have tea. And what I really loved about it was that like it's in an art studio.
Yeah.
What better way is like it's a place of creation. It's a place to break things down. It's a place to build yourself up. It's a place to be adventurous, to go into uncertainty. So, and also like, I don't dictate what we talk about. Like we could just have a studio visit. Like if another artist comes in, it's like, what's going on in your studio? Or like, what's going on? Like it's just really embracing what today is for us and connecting to that. Yeah.
All right, people. So the next time you work with your builder, your contractor, just know there's a little bit below the surface. There could very well be a little below the surface. I love that idea. Yeah. Congrats on your successful. Well, we'll see about the opening on Friday. Congrats on your successful residency.
Yes,
Thank you.
yeah.
I appreciate that.
Congrats. Is that curanderismo? What is that? What is that?
Yeah, it's called curanderismo.
You say I nailed it.
Yeah,
like
you crushed it. I was like, wait, are you a practitioner?
You tried. I like that. No.
That was a sad attempt. But yeah, was that what you're referring to, or what is that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So curanderismo is a term. It's fairly new term. Curanderismo is this type of medicine. It's often referred to. I like explaining this story as the medicine of the three-headed serpent. So if we think of colonization, which has been like around 500 years or so, there's a lot of destruction that happened, right? A lot of enslavement, a lot of pain and trauma that was passing around in the Americas and all over the world, right? All over where imperialism came in colonization. So, but there's also a lot of beauty. There's a lot of healing that was happening at the same time. So the three-headed serpent refers to the three primary medicines that are used to help soothe or facilitate healing, which comes from the Spanish, right? So there's Spanish healing modality, and then there's also from West Africa, the Yoruba traditions as well. And then depending on which traditions you work with, it's through all of the what we call the Americas now, so indigenous tribes. So I particularly work with the Mexica or Nahua, which is known as the Aztecs, but I also introduce Yucatec Maya as well. And I have mentors that I've been working with over years to fine tune this. And so, well, not fine tune it, but to learn from them. And what I've been doing is incorporating that medicine with contemporary art. So we do the tea ceremonies, we do the portraiture. So it's like thinking about like, okay, how can we engage in the alchemy of art, this thing that we call like using a pencil. Like a pencil is just a pencil. We use it all the time. Or a pencil could be sacred. It's wood and it's ashes that we're drawing with and we're connecting with. So like, how can we live more intentionally? How can we make these connections? And so curanderismo is what we refer to these mixture of different healing modalities that is shared throughout all of the Americas and Africa and Europe as well.
I love it. Yeah. So I know you guys don't know this probably, but I spent a year as a massage therapy school, and in the end, what happened was you have to do clinics, right? Clinicals, and you have to work on clinics, and I didn't really know this, but like I didn't really know that wasn't your life, because it felt like that was my life, was these clinics, because this one very heavy set guy would always come in and ask for me because I did a good job on massaging his stomach and getting rid of some of those stomach issues that he was having. And then I was thinking like, yeah, I don't know if I want to do this for a living, after this experience or whatever. But it was but I loved the school. I thought it was great. And you did help in that school release some demons of some people. Have you heard of craniosacral the modality of it, where you're focusing on the sutures and then like kind of moving those in different directions and spreading them apart? Are you familiar with that at all?
I'm not. The term for some reason sounds very familiar, but I'd be lying if I knew exactly what you're
doing. That was the most emotional thing we did, because you would have someone come in and there were because there's the massage part, but if you did the craniosacral, you're doing something where you kind of your hands are on their head, and you're essentially focusing on that energy that you're feeling from them, and you're trying to release it from them. And you had so many emotional experiences on the table when that would happen, and they would get up and they would feel so much better. So I'm assuming it's something similar to what you were doing with the tea ceremonies.
Yeah, that sounds beautiful. That's amazing.
Releasing demons.
Release the demons. Release them. Yeah. Let them be free.
Let them be free.
But you would have emotional experience. Like, so you, a lot of times, and this is a little off subject, maybe it's off subject, but you hold pain in different areas of the body. And so you would, I would be massaging somebody and you would hit a spot on their back and they would start crying. Yeah. And you're like, okay, we're going to let this go, because they're experiencing something. And so sometimes I would make them cry on purpose, but that's another story.
Now you do that with words.
Now I do it with words. Yeah, but I really enjoyed it. I thought it was good. I just didn't want to do it like to make a living from it or something. But a tea ceremony sounds nice.
Yeah, that sounds really beautiful. Thanks for sharing that. No, absolutely. I mean, I think is that like so like I have a history. Remember I was talking about like all this construction work. I used to pour concrete. And I was like, so I have a history of back pain, which I've like now been able to recover and doing really well. But I went to my physical therapist and she was trying to explain to me what's going on with my back, because I couldn't move it in a certain way. And she's using all these medical terms, and I was like, oh, I think you're saying that my muscles are afraid.
Yeah.
And so like that, what you said reminded me of that story, because like I think when certain trauma happens to your body, it's connected to a certain body part, right? And then when you start, whether you do like,
and it could be
people in
emotional.
Yoga do that too. Yeah. Oh, absolutely emotional. And like depending on what type of trauma.
Right.
So it could be a spiritual trauma, a physical or a mental trauma. Yeah. And it gets stored in that area, and you have to release it. So like it's interesting how with massage therapy, because to be a curandero or like a curanderismo, it's a catch-all phrase, but it just means healer. So you could be like, there's people who are hueseros with our chiropractic care, There's also like massage therapists. There's also parteras, the people who give birth. There's doulas, death doula, right? So it's just like, so it's just thinking about really just incorporating the spiritual or thinking about things in a different way than like just the physical and the.
Amazing. And then, so before we move on, I need to know about your necklace.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's very beautiful. It's made out of beads.
That was it. That's all we need to know. Nothing else. That's it.
No, I mean, I work with beads a lot. I think beads are really special for me. And these I buy. I buy these from different areas. You could get these anywhere in Mexico. They're from Mexico. But they just represent like home for me. It's like I wear as a
I thought you were going to say, you can get these from any vendor on the street. Or
I
whatever.
just get them anywhere.
Yeah.
Like,
But,
fine.
oh, you know what we're missing though, Todd? And I think this is an opportunity for Oka in the Artist in Residency program. Because Luis from Chicago is sitting in front of an Old Faithful poster, right? We're in this van or trailer. We've got multiple pictures of Old Faithful. We are 4 hours away. It's my favorite national park, and we're 4 hours away from Moab. Like there's some places around here where it's like, how can we work that into the Artist in Residency program where we have this Banyan van and we just take the artists in residence to show them Moab, Zion,
God, it's amazing.
Yellowstone.
And we mic it up occasionally.
Mic it up occasionally, and because they're not from here. Yeah, they're from back east or from somewhere else or whatever, where they just don't know the area. And within a few, we could knock it out in 2 days or in a weekend or whatever, and just show them the place. Yeah.
Just an up and a back is inspiring.
Right.
I think
show them the Tetons for crying out loud. It'd be amazing.
Can we take the 24-inch Denali?
Yes.
You've been trying to work that transition.
I've been waiting. I'm so proud of myself. I would love to hear you all talk about.
That is an incredible segue into Denali.
Oh my God.
Denali, would you mind?
Did you bring home any rims from Denali?
Yeah,
or what?
is there like a Denali shop at Denali?
Oh, thanks so much, Luis, for hanging out with us. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, no, thank you. It's great.
And yeah, we got to figure out how to get like these local artists around to see all the national parks.
It's
and
not
stuff.
a bad
It's so
idea.
cool.
Actually, I have one question for you before we move on. You sound like you build a lot of stuff out of OSB.
Yeah.
And I guess construction material. You ever think about like hitting up certain contractors to recycle that, or?
Yeah, I've thought, in construction sites, I don't know if you ever noticed, sometimes they have like these huge cranes, and then, like at the end of the night, they'll like put up like the American flag, or they'll put up something. I've been wanting to do a project where like the crane will lift up a huge sculpture or something out of just like the recycled material.
Gotcha.
But I mean, I think it's just really, it's just challenging, like construction sites, there's all these like OSHA and all these regulations, and you can't really get into those materials. But it'd be really, I used to just scavenge in those areas, just go in and take some of the stuff.
So you're typically not making the same art piece ever. It's usually something different every time.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
Good question.
Some do,
Yeah.
It's just, people make prints and stuff, so it's cool. I really appreciate the lack of, not doing monotony,
Yeah.
Todd's nickname was Todd of the Top because this one time we backpacked and we were beginners. We didn't know what the hell we were doing. I didn't, for sure. Todd probably did. And we backpacked. The highest peak in Utah is Kings Peak, right? 13.5 or something like that. And Todd just ran up it. And I was like, I can't do it. I can't do it. So I didn't make it. And he forever was like Todd to the Top. And so Todd to the Top, I want to know from you if you've got any questions for the Alpinists to lead off here.
Well, let's see how it goes. I think that the idea was the preparation, right? So as an alpinist, anybody who does it more regularly than our trips into the mountains back then, a little less frequent and a little less prepared.
Yeah.
And so we cheated, I don't know death, but we did cheated injury, let's just say.
There we go.
Because our preparation was
zero,
weak.
Yeah.
I think I had, if not 10 issues, the equivalent,
Yeah.
that I went.
I mean, there were worse people on the mountain, but we were pretty close to the bottom. So, yeah.
I like that's our comparison. Is that there's somebody that did it worse.
I mean, I did see jeans and T-shirts. So, there was that. So, yeah.
Yeah. So how do you, I don't know where to get started necessarily. Where's your story start? Let's get to
I
know
don't-
the both
I
of
would-
you a little
I
bit.
would
Why
say-
did you? Why did? Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I would say it started just living in Ogden Valley, being able to have the access to those mountains and growing up skiing. That was probably kind of the gateway to more extreme adventure, so to speak.
No,
was
no,
the
it's just
gateway
shaking
adventure.
his head in agreement. Is it
Yeah,
the same?
so
Okay,
I think
okay.
we grew up about a year apart. So,
Okay. Same
he-
area?
Yeah. He was in Liberty. I was in Eden. so
Ogden Valley. Okay.
Ogden Valley.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think his is probably similar.
Yeah, I'd say.
Just you don't have to say anything. Just say yeah.
Yeah, I'll nod my head. I'll just nod my head.
Yeah, this is the nodding section of the show.
Yeah, just for anyone listening, I'm just nodding my head the whole time.
Yeah, but I'm curious because so you were skiing and then you get into climbing and rock climbing, and in fact you just pulled off I would call it an epic of Bridal Veil Falls. We have a person in Utah that's famous. It's tied to Bridal Veil Falls. Do you want to talk about that first?
Yeah, so Jeff Lowe is a longtime climbing native. He's kind of a pioneer for the Ogden area. He did this route in the 70s with, much less technological advancements.
Like a
There's
the Alpine axe. Like it
yeah,
wasn't ice.
it's a
climb.
straight shaft axe.
right.
Like there's not much handles. So, to be graded water ice 6 then probably makes it like water ice 4 or 5 to us just because of technological advancements. But like I said, after he had done that ascent, it was kind of groundbreaking. And then a year later, very short time, he went back and soloed it. So kind of a crazy story.
So and explain soloing to people who don't really understand that.
Unencumbered by the rope. So
right.
it's kind of it's a touchy subject, I think, so to speak.
Not here. I solo all the time. My stairs. Like
Getting into your car.
my car. Yeah. Although I used a rope today.
To get into
Oh
your
my
car or
gosh.
what?
No. Oh, this is fantastic. No.
To get out of the car.
To get out of the car. Yeah, it's like I have one of those Denali's now.
Oh, I wish. Full circle.
Full circle. No.
Spinning rims.
Oh my God. I know I hiked Indian Trail, okay? And then there's that one washout section, right? And I got spikes on because it's all ice. And I'm cruising up the that washout area or whatever, and I'm actually through it. And I look up and some dude's got a rope there. I'm like, what? To hold on to because it is
nice.
like washed out, And I'm like, I grab like, yeah. We're gonna use that.
Ogden Alpinists.
Ogden Alpinism on Indian Trail. Oh my God.
In the micro spike.
In the micro spot. Yeah. It was pretty funny. But okay, so that's a big deal. Like
Yeah, it was definitely one of the hardest ice climbs I've done so far. It's a lot of the way that ice forms is it's a vertical cliff, so a lot of the times you get these little breaks, so to speak, that put you into this roof scenario. So you end up getting a good belay station. For those that don't know, a belay station is kind of where you create your anchor and you pull your next climber up. But just a transcendental experience with a unique piece of ice, so to speak. Kind of when we would get into the ice, we'd have to tunnel out, and I think one of the pitches ended up being about 180 feet long, so a real rope stretcher. I think once you kind of hit that 100-foot mark, you're so far away from your belayer that you're feeling like you're really out
how
there.
many screws do you have?
So that pitch ate up about 10 screws. And ironically, when I got to the top of this, all I had left was a V-thread screw. So in ice climbing, there's this thing called a naked V-thread, which is when you take your longest screw and you cut into the ice to make a V, which then you thread your rope through, and that's how you rappel, and then you leave no gear on the wall. When I got up to that last pitch, all I had left was that screw to create the V-thread, so I was about 20 feet above my last.
Wait, so time out, because I'm not familiar with it. So if you use the V-thread screw,
Then I wouldn't.
on an ice, and then you belay off, or you exit off that.
Yeah, so a lot of times rappelling the route, you'll use a V-thread.
Okay, so
you're cutting out the V-thread with a V-thread screw. So essentially, you're just using ice.
Oh, got you. Okay.
So you cut
got
it-
you.
yeah, you
So
take
just
a-
use that. Okay, I was gonna say. So you just like in the springtime, sit at the end of waterfalls and wait for these things to drop down and grab.
Yeah.
Okay, got you. So it creates the V, and then that's what you belay out. Okay,
Right, so
okay.
you're cutting that V, and then eventually you'll thread your rope through that. When you have running water, this can kind of be scary because your ropes can actually get frozen in the ice when you go to pull ropes.
But that's mostly the only moment you're you're scared.
Yeah, everything else
the
is chill.
It was kind of ironic that last pitch, it used up all my screws and I had to cut a V-thread. So I was about 20, 30 feet above my last screw. And
That's
normally
so
you would
far.
Yeah, normally you just put another screw in and then create your belay. But since I had to cut a V-thread, I had to kind of stand at this weird stance 30 feet above my last piece of protection to then...
30 feet is huge.
Yeah,
That's a whip on whips.
Oh, yeah. Well, ice
so
climbing
did the guidebooks not say, like, bring this many screws, or what's going on?
I think the ice climbing way is that you just don't fall. You know what you're getting into.
Okay.
I think a lot of ice climbers might experience this. It's kind of weird, far and few between actually like to lead ice because I think it is so head-on and challenging. But yeah, anyways, I got to that pitch and I hammered my axe in as my protection for the moment to then cut this V-thread and then put a sling through that V-thread and then put the V-thread in and actually belay my partner up to me. But it's about a 400-foot climb. It's guided quite a bit, but I think solo parties maybe two dozen a year. So
can you pass on that or no? Or how does that work?
In terms of
like, can you pass a guided party? Is it wide enough, or how does
it is steep enough. We gave the guided party that we saw that morning, we gave them space just because it's kind of a touchy piece of ice. It was actually closed down in recent years and then has been reopened to the public to climb, but it has a bunch of rules because it's an old mining basin, basically, and so logistics are a little hard, and you got to kind of play by the rules there, which is weird because it's ice is so free and whatnot. But it is steep enough that if they were on it, most of the material that comes off that thing will just fall way past you because of the grade. So yeah, we could have jumped on it, but I think the right thing to do was to just have it to ourselves and be patient. There's no reason to be climbing right underneath someone, so we decided to wait.
Is that considered an on-site?
Yeah, so that's actually more or less what the takeaway from this climb for me was that it's so beautiful when a climber gets to walk up to something like that that's so complex and be able to just do it from bottom to top with no taking on gear, no prior information to it. So for me, that was kind of the pinnacle of ice climbing. Obviously we do these climbs that are in these small towns for training purposes most of the time. It's to apply it in the big mountains. So yeah, the on-site was a dream come true. I've actually kind of upped my grades quite a bit this year, but I think going back, I've kind of told friends and family that the training has really has been the key element in success this year is spending time in the gym.
In the gym? I was like, what's your training?
Yeah.
What do you do?
I used to be a hater.
Like, what do you do?
Yeah. I used to be a hater on the gym, but nowadays it's like it just...
Yeah, but what do you do in the gym? Do you dry tool or?
No, it's just bouldering and then, normal body workouts. A lot of core, I think a lot of times...
I don't go to the gym, so just let me know like what you do.
I got buddy passes, dude. So.
Yeah, thanks.
How much you bench, bro?
About 10 ice screws.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, please do.
First of all, I'm so excited because this is like amazing.
He's from Chicago. He doesn't know about this.
I'm from the city. Urban,
you understood everything he said.
Absolutely. you Bali or something?
Yeah, the belay.
The belay.
Yeah.
It's a ballet move. Yeah.
I'm just thinking like cliffhanger.
Pretty much, yeah.
Sylvester's.
Yeah. But I'll joke.
That was so bad.
Movie changed my life. No, but I'm generally like so excited and like, but there's this hesitation to ask a question because I'm like so naive that like I don't know, but like connecting it to
He's
art.
kind of a
like,
dick, so be careful. Yeah.
Word on the street. Sometimes you gotta.
But like you said something about it. It was a dream come true. So I'm trying to connect this dream to like the intersect between art and adventure. And so it's like I'm thinking about your inner child. I'm thinking like how does one, right? Like how do you like what is driving you? And then like what is this dream? Like this dream was fulfilled, but so what was fulfilled for you?
Good question.
Yeah, it's a good question. Man, that's a deep one.
Take your time on that one. Yeah.
I think it's, just a culmination of things, I don't really know what specifically drives it. I think not having a lot of mentorship has driven me to be really independent with climbing. And then just getting to understand my capability has been kind of a key proponent in future missions and stuff. But I really think just the valley is kind of, what we call Ogden Valley. It's, the Garden of Eden, really, for most of us. So I think that's really supplemented kind of my success. It's just a great environment to be raised in. I don't know. Do you have anything to add on that?
Yeah, I think, like, in terms of what the whole purpose is, well, I can't speak for Colton, but for me, like, being able to do something like, I didn't do Bridal Veil, but, a similar whatever we do as climbers is artistic for me. Like, I love the movement of, like, putting my hands on natural things and going from one point to another and looking down, and the top is awesome, but the whole experience is really like what makes it, which is such a cliche to say because it's the journey, but it really is. Like, it's, the top is always amazing, and that's like the end goal, but the whole time getting up to that point is insane. That's why I do it anyways.
There's a certain DIY aesthetic.
Yeah.
You're doing everything yourself.
I would say I think it is pretty cowboy. it's Western. Like,
I know. It's Colton brought this up, Todd. We need to keep some Coors Banquets in here.
Some what?
I was thinking about wearing the cowboy hat.
Coors
tonight.
Banquet beers.
That's a
Cowboy beers. He's like,
I'm
what?
removed. I'm too removed from Coors Banquet beer.
Yeah.
Can you find that anywhere?
Yeah,
Yeah,
gas stations.
Walmart, gas station.
Fancy beer.
Fancy. It's as fancy as it
fancy
comes.
beer water.
Okay, so there's a certain level of risk. I mean, there's a level of risk to doing nothing, just sit on your couch. But with something like that, that's where the brain goes. That's where non-climber, non-adventure brains go for sure. And so growing up, and we don't have to, single anybody out, but I kind of want to go that direction as far as a family member, a friend, how do you describe to them what it is that you do?
Tell like mom.
Or are there a handful of relatives, friends, colleagues that you just don't include in those discussions?
That's good. Yeah.
I think it's pretty hard because it's just such an undescribable experience most of the time, and the context or the dialogue that you have to talk to people. I have to try so hard to dumb down a lot of the context of what's going on, because a lot of people just don't know. They're like, you're pulling a rope up, or is, someone thought I talked to my buddy's dad this morning, and he was like, so you had a Milwaukee drill, or you know what I mean? So like when I say ice screws, people are like, it's hard to comprehend.
Screws are made of ice.
Yeah, exactly. I would say though, my brother, he went on some pretty large expeditions in his early 20s. They tried a big, I'm gonna butcher the vertical relief on it, but it's called Shipton Spire in Pakistan. They went and tried to do this free ascent of a wall there. His buddy Jackson Marvell, who is actually the guy who just climbed Janu, and they're calling it the greatest ascent in the Nepalese range as of right now. So those two they played a huge role.
I just got chills. For real, the greatest. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
impressive.
they are some top dogs right now. I actually spent some time with them in Highlight this year, and it was just great to be around them. It is a pretty small community, so I think it's cool when you finally meet those people that you can just open up and you can talk to them about. Otherwise, I think a lot of times for Noah and I, our families are, like my mom specifically, she's pretty just supportive. She doesn't do the whole like, are you sure you want to be out there? That's scary. That's life-threatening.
How much does she want to know? Does she like the details? Does she?
I think she also doesn't understand as well. I think she sees those because I came home. I'm like, did you see Bridal Veils? And she just goes, yeah, So it's kind of one of those like I don't think she wants to interfere with my happiness, So and then dad is the same way. He's a cowboy. He couldn't really comprehend what's going on either.
What did you tell me he said to you when you said you climbed?
Oh, so Denali, yeah. So he's got a duck pen in his backyard, and I just climbed, America's biggest mountain. I was so stoked to call friends and family. I call my dad, and I'm like, "Yeah, dude, we climbed Denali. It was a success and great." And he goes, "Congratulations! So my wood ducks are, So he just went straight into
into the duck.
Yeah, right
Not
into
even
it.
messing around.
Yeah,
Right into the duck.
I don't even think he really knows what Denali is or
Right.
looks like,
Right.
So, and I kind of like that for some reason.
Right.
I've became, more happy
Because
in
it's
the sense-
dangerous. And
Yeah, and I do see some dads that it seems like they interfere with their kids a lot. They second guess their kids a bunch. So I kind of like not having that overhead or that oversight of my dad, kind of ridiculing me for certain things. So
Noah, same question. Like, why the hell do you? What attracted you to climbing?
Yeah.
And then in the climbing world, as Todd knows, because he's a strong climber, he's a good hiker. Okay.
Climbing is hiking.
There's different modalities of climbing. And so one of them is in high alpine or high altitude ranges, one of them sport climbing, one of them gym climbing and something. So where did you start and how did you get into the alpine side of things?
Yeah. I'm pretty lucky in that my dad got me into climbing.
Hey, yeah, let's go.
Yeah, he was a big inspiration for me growing up. Just like, to me as a kid, my dad was mountain man dad,
Drink so many Coors Banquets.
Yeah. he would leave on trips to go climbing just to Salt Lake or wherever with his buds, his middle-aged dads, and they'd go climb and stuff. So that was that inspiration. And I mean, even for Denali, my neighbor growing up in the valley, he climbed Denali he had 2 attempts and successfully climbed the second one. But growing up next to him, and he was a big part of my life as a kid too. So that inspiration, even though I didn't know what it meant to climb Denali, I was always like, I want to climb Denali.
Did you ever feel pressure to be better than dad or just wanted to be like dad?
Not pressured, but yeah, there was always because when I was he would take me on mountain bike rides or climbing, and he'd make me cry because he's like, "Come on, you got to go faster. We're gonna go higher." And so it's more I'm gonna do better than you, Dad.
Dad, I'm 4 years old. Push it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's it was a healthy competition.
I mean, there's some dads where it's not healthy,
Yeah,
probably,
no,
but that's good for most kids.
Yeah,
to
I was
get out
very
there.
lucky and blessed to have the
Yeah.
growing up that I had.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, so you were one with the mountain when you were young.
Yeah, I mean, I lived in Wisconsin and grew and.
Are there mountains in Wisconsin?
No. It's cold though.
Yeah.
But I moved back here when I was 8. So
Okay.
So yeah, pretty much the whole childhood.
Oh, 8. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So then, you what route did you do on Denali? And because didn't you take a unique way up?
Yeah, we did the west. Well, as a lot of the west buttress up to 14. We had a few different plans, and then we ended up taking the west rib from 14 camp up to the summit.
What's the general success rate on Denali?
That's a good question, honestly. Quite a bit, considering guides and people learning how to tie knots
that's
on the mountain.
Yeah. On the
Depends
west
on how much
buttress-
money you have.
On the west buttress, it's pretty high, which is the economy route. It's I have photos. If I bring my camera, I should show you. But I have photos of people. It's like Everest almost, not that to that degree, but just lines of people going
Wow.
up.
But you did not have guides. You guys climbed it on your own.
Yeah, so I spent, I can't remember what year it was. I had climbed Pico de Orizaba in Ameca, so in Mexico, just to kind of familiarize myself with altitude and everything. And at this mountain hostel, little side story too, we drove this rental car from Mexico City all the way to Ameca, and as we got there, and Noah wasn't with me on this one, this was a different climbing partner, the guy running the hostel said, "You just drove here all the way?" He just shakes his head at me and says, "Oh boy," because it was a stretch of land, and he's like, you guys you're just screaming Americans, you've got everything in this car just packed to the brim. Anyways, long story short, we went
So that's a bad idea.
It was a bad idea.
Okay.
He was biting his nails for us leaving too. He's like, I hope you guys make it back, And so, anyways, I was in that mountain hostel after climbing Pico, and I found this old Denali guidebook that had this route. It's called the West Direct, and so it was a variation of the West Rib, and it featured this 3,000-foot ice couloir right around the water ice 3+ to 4, and that was currently where me and Noah were climbing at. So we thought, wow, how cool would it be to climb 3,000 feet of ice? You know what I mean? So our original plan was to do this thing top to bottom, and we realized if we did that, we would have no way of retreat. And the south face of Denali is just, known for eating people once weather comes. You just disappear on that face. So we ended up taking all of our stuff up the west buttress and making a high camp up there at 14,000 feet so that we could eventually go over at 14,000 feet and descend back down to about 9, and then from there reclimb that couloir. Which didn't end up happening fully. Me and Noah slept en route together and just froze our butts off.
Oh.
Yeah. And so we ended up deviating from that plan of dropping into that couloir and just going back to 14,000 foot camp and then continuing out the West Rib from there with skis on our back. So we ended up skiing off the top of that thing. I think it was a 26-hour epic the day of our summit.
Yeah.
So...
Sorry, I had to message somebody.
It's your wife.
It wasn't the wife.
Okay, so I got a quick question, follow up to that, this grand adventure. And so this kind of, maybe this is a question for all of us to just touch on a little bit. As far as, for me, staying inspired is hard, right? And so I find periods in my life where I'm not inspired, where I'm a bigger pain in the ass to be around. It affects my mood. Like, I question even the basic jobs that I have, and so after the height of a grand adventure, you're back home. You've had a chance to get back home to a familiar location. Like, how do you keep that inspiration? Maybe it's a big opening, a big show. You put everything into your blood, sweat, tears. You haven't slept for a week, 2 weeks, and it's done, and you're back home, and there is a certain relief, but at the same time, there's also like a big how do you get through that?
I think it's just a time process. I think to experience high highs, you have to experience low lows. And for whatever reason, I think after completing some of these bigger than life tasks where, the consequence is to death, sometimes you come back super stoked to be alive, but also feeling a little bit drained and empty. And I think it's just a lot of time out there. You're just running with it, like your head cut off. So once you finally get back home, you kind of start to digest what actually went on out there, and it kind of makes you rethink. So I think for me, just paying attention to detail and staying attentive to the trials and tribulations of each one of these climbs, being honest with yourself and coming back to a center point to be able to, tell yourself what your takeaways were and what you could do better on the next one is kind of where I see myself getting the inspiration back up, is kind of just taking the time to digest. Even Bridal Veils it's weird when you complete something like that and you do it top to bottom. Like, I just feel this immense, what I'd say transcendental. It's like out of body. And then you just feel, an extreme blessing, it seems like. I'm not super religious in any way, but as I've been a mountain climber, I've really started to become pretty spiritual with these events and stuff. So
you're getting closer to God.
I really think so. I look back at that thing and I thank it for everything I have, and same with even Ben Lomond here. It's just been a mountain that has helped me reach other goals in life. And so a lot of times I like to look at these land masses and just say thank you. You know what I mean? A lot of admiration.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do to keep inspired, especially on the heels of something grand?
Yeah. I find a lot of inspiration from everyday life, I think. And that's important for me because I have found myself in situations where I'm chasing the next big thing constantly. And I'm just pissed off the whole time because I achieve something and then I'm pissed off because I want to be achieving another thing. maybe not pissed off is the right word, but sometimes it's just I feel dissatisfied. There's a little.
His Instagram bio is chronic case of dissatisfaction. So
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah, which is a problem, but it keeps me driven in a way. But I do like when I got home from Denali, I just went on a walk with my girlfriend. I like every little thing, going to McDonald's, every dumb thing was so nice. And then taking the time that's when I can relax, because my brain is crazy otherwise when I feel like I'm working on a project. So after I've completed something, I can relax a little bit.
Download a little.
Yeah, and that lets me take inspiration for more everyday things. Her and I, my girlfriend and I like to go to a lot of like punk shows and music shows, and I love art, and that inspires.
There's a show this Friday. You should.
A really good show.
Yeah.
It's a really good show.
I heard a little bit about it. But yeah, I think everyday life, it's important for me to find that in everyday life, because without that, these big things aren't as motivating or important to me. And those little things keep me going to keep looking for the next big thing to, make the whole life.
What is the next big thing?
That's a good question.
You don't have it written down.
I have, there's a few. I know we went to the Eiger this past fall.
It's a big name.
I'd like to do it. Yeah, I'd like to do a different route, the north face of the Eiger. We've both talked a little bit about that, and I have some Utah desert climbs that I really want to do that are kind of big up there. On Mountain Project, there's a list of Utah's 50 classic climbs, and I want to lead, or at least share lead on all of those 50. Whenever that, I haven't set a time frame for myself on that one, but
You got till Friday.
Before death.
Oh.
yeah, yeah, that's the only time frame that matters. But hopefully sooner than that.
Well, that could be any. Yeah, that could be way far off.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. How do you handle those periods after those high highs?
Yeah.
I'm assuming inspiration is important to you as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a really beautiful question, actually. Because it is very real. Like after a show, sometimes you do have like the blues start coming in and you start feeling that. But I think having done this for a while, and I'm just going to kind of echo what both of you said. I think it's just actually enjoying the process and living with gratitude. When I step into my studio, I like to burn a little bit of smoke, little copal, and I just always give gratitude, for the opportunity to be here, for my hands, for the food, for the materials I'm working with, and it sounds. You said this earlier, like these things kind of sound corny, but they really make a huge difference to be able to just slow down. If you're able to slow down, you're able to have more memories. You're able to remember more things, right? You're connected. You enjoy things more. And once the adventure is over, you have so much connection to that process because you slow down enough to remember. Like, wow, I remember when I walked into the studio and I did this. I remember when I was afraid to do this, but I did this.
It's almost like a lot of data.
Exactly, right? And so every moment is just as important as the mountaintop. Right? Yeah. And so, yeah, it's beautiful. I think it's really important for me to have rituals, and I was actually just thinking about this question too, for you all, you've, and this is just my own perspective, right? And it's you talk about this mountain as both as you have this relationship to it, with that your parents or, your community is sort of look up to it, right? But what is it like? Do you have any rituals when you're up there? Are you connecting? You talked about, a little bit when you touch the mountain. How does your body feel? Is there something that, the mountain is just a mountain, right? It's just this thing in the background that you see as a mountain. But the mountain could also be it's Pachamama is your mom. It's your mother, is Mother Earth, and they're giving you. Right, and then I bring this up because y'all kind of already been sort of talking about these things, this beautiful connection to the land, and I'm just curious, I think, do y'all think about that, or
I think a lot of it is just, I said this in a recent lecture at Rooster's B Street, is just you kind of get what you give, So I think the more heart and soul you put into this, it seems to be you get better results. You know what I mean? I think partnership goes a really long ways in the mountains. I think getting to know each other and being able to be vulnerable and honest. Denali's crazy. I mean, you're pulling you got a 70-pound backpack and a 150-pound polk, and you're traveling uphill for 3 days. You don't shower for 20. You know, it's a real deal. It breaks you down to your truest fibers. And so I think these experiences, like I said, they become pretty undescribable to the general population, you know, just because it's one of those things that, like, what makes it so special to me is that it's him and I that know that, you know, we experience that. And I like to give as moderate details as I can, but for me, it's just something I can harness within myself, you know?
Yeah. So, you know, I was just thinking of, like, earlier I was going to be like, do you ever just feel like badass? You just walk into a room and like, whatever. I just climbed Denali. Like, you don't even know what that is. You think it's a Suburban. But
it definitely serves as a confidence booster, but I think it's more of a way of life, really.
Yeah, well, that's what I was like.
It's not really that I do it to impress. I think I'm in it now.
He leads with it every time he meets someone. Colton, I climbed Denali.
Yeah. Here's a list of the peaks on my back. You know?
But I think
they're tattooed.
I'm trying to go with that was like this. Like you talked in many ways like stripping that ego.
Yeah.
Because you're carrying that weight, and then so like you could either step into the room saying I'm physically or like I've accomplished, but also the other side to that coin is being like, wow, I am so connected.
Well, and humiliated.
Right.
So that's what I was gonna say is he's seen me be humiliated countless times. I've been thrown into the ringer. I bite off more than I could chew a lot in the beginning of my mountain climbing. Again, because I don't think I had the mentor to pull me up most of these things. I was like, I'm gonna be on the sharp end. I'm gonna do this myself. So, you know, I kind of learned the hard way, but I'm pretty thankful for that. I think he's the same way. He's pretty ambitious. We, for the longest times, like most climbers go to a climb and they're like, all right, you know, whoever leads it, and then we get out of here. But for him and I, it's like, you lead it, we pull ropes, he leads it, you know, because we were both so similar in appetite. But
Well, and I think part of the beauty too, like that connection that you're talking about with the mountain, is feeling humiliated together because we're in this unique environment, I guess, and being outside, because both of us have seen each other cry countless times just because we're whatever. There's all kinds of reasons that we've cried. Even the most recent first ascent or whatever you would call it that we did up the Pfeiffer Horn, I've been really anxious lately. I've been like trying to juggle a lot in life, and I just had a breakdown. Like I was like, shit, dude, we're way up here. I'm like not as strong as I should be right now. I've had like a mini panic attack just from feeling overall anxiety. But to get through that moment in the mountain, and then just, you know, I'm not getting back on my phone or like going back into society for comfort, sitting on my couch. I just like am sitting on a rock like 600 feet up and just finding comfort in sitting there and feeling the rocks and the snow, the cold wind on my face, and like very present, very moments that make you be present. That's why I need the mountains, I think, and that connection is and outside. Anyone who goes outside, whether or not you're climbing, you find that connection if you forget about your phone, and if you can get to a point where you're forgetting about life and your job, you just feel present and feel the earth and everything around you.
So Brandon, I'd love your perspective on this as well. And I'm trying to think of Brandon's, how the equivalent of that high, that sort of that spiritual, next to God, like, and what do you do after the? And if you ever listen to the show, and if you've been listening to the show for the last, say, 14 years, you would know with Brandon, it's probably has to do with taking a poop, right? It has to do with 100%. Good shit, right? And so, how do you handle that? That sort of those lows after.
I don't have a low after taking a poop. I mean, that's a high. So it's like, I mean, it's all up from there, or down from there, because it's a pretty good time.
Brandon's spiritual experiences.
Yeah, but pooping in the mountains is a thing. So there's that. How do you go 20 days with no what?
It's funny you say that, because I almost was certain you were somehow going to get on the Denali poop topic.
If you listen to the show, you know it's going to be touched on. Yeah.
So
it's a good title for a painting.
Denali poop. So when you register to climb Denali, they give you buckets. they wanted to send us up the mountain with like 4 buckets or something like that. And we were like, you know what? No, we'll make do with 2.
I know my diet.
Yeah. Well, and we were like, we'll just split
They
it.
give you multiple bags.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you get green bags. You do pack in, pack out everything,
Right.
other than peeing and whatnot. But there is one crevasse at 14,000 feet. I don't know if I should leak this information to the real world.
What
but
you did not?
Well, no. So
You drop it in the.
That's what they require.
That's-
That's
tell you
that's
to
what
drop?
yeah. So there's a certain crevasse that is just completely full of poop.
So wait, you don't drop the baggie? Do you just dump the baggie?
Yeah, you just
Or-
dump the baggie,
Okay.
and
Well,
a lot of
you
us.
chuck the bag.
Yeah, you chuck the baggie.
'Cause
So you
they
take
are-
it.
But then
They're
that's
bio-
plastic in the crevasse.
They're
Wait, crevasse is
biodegradable
like
bags.
Yeah, explain
French.
a crevasse.
Is that French for for a
It's like
hole?
it's like a butt crack. Yeah, it's a butt crack. It's a crevice.
It's a break in the ice that goes all the way down to wherever.
Yeah. So some
I
of
mean,
these,
that makes sense, I guess.
Yeah.
some of them can be, and some of them can be hidden. You know, you can fall in these things traveling on your way up. Sometimes you can identify them. But this one is
There's a shit crevasse.
yeah.
on-
This
oh
one
my God.
particularly is
That is crazy.
really wide.
Brandon's
and
like, he's like, what a way to die. What a way to go.
Not like this.
That goes long in the
You
shit
fall into
crevasse.
the-
well, dude, some people will rope up to go to this thing because
Oh my
it's scary.
God.
I mean, if you're
Yeah.
dipping your poop over the edge and you fall in this thing, you're
Well,
falling in 50 years of people's poop in that
Oh,
They
thing. You
miss
know?
the
So-
crevasse, so there's a line of where people have missed chucking it in the crevasse.
Ugh.
They're too scared to walk to the edge.
No.
There's just shit lining the whole.
This is a great story though. So we're about to be on the glacier for 20 days, and I asked Noah. I said, "You bring toilet paper?" He goes, "Yeah, I got some from the Airbnb." He pulls out half a roll of like that paper bag style toilet paper,
Yeah.
and so instantly
One ply.
Yeah, 1 ply. I knew. I was like, man, we are in a crux with taking dumps, you know. And then once we got to 14,000 feet, I just started going to everyone's camps, and I was like, what can I trade? You know, I've got tuna fish. Like, give me shit tickets for tuna fish. Or, you
This is
know?
like COVID. Like you got to get
Yeah,
our toilet
you got a
paper.
bargain,
You
you
got a
know?
bargain for TP.
Exactly.
Oh my God.
So yeah, the pooping scenario is interesting. Not to mention when you're at 14,000, you get out of your tent -10 degree, -20 in the morning to take a poop, and then when Noah didn't bring TP, we had to implement
Neg 10. Shit's freezing.
Oh yeah, well, and you had to use snow, so it's hard to get out of your sleeping bag. Noah didn't bring enough, so we were kind of like, you get 1 ply, 2 plies a day, and the rest of it has to be snow.
Noah seems unconcerned at all that he did not
yeah.
bring enough
Yeah.
TP.
We made it.
It was funny.
made
'cause
it.
I was really counting on him, and it ended up not happening. So, but we made it work. We ended up getting half a roll from someone. But yeah,
What'd you have to trade for that?
I think it was
A
like
lot of Bitcoin.
I think it was free. Yeah, big one.
I think it was probably
That was a freebie. That was a good karma on there.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I
The
think
karma
we just got
deal?
help. We're like, guys, we're in a real bad way right now. So
I hate that I'm saying this. We've said so many amazing things and shared so many amazing things today, but the shit ticket's going to be in the title somehow. All of this incredible
Oh.
material. Yeah.
Yeah. How to shit on Denali, which is what you have to do. I mean, that's just
Yeah.
part of being, that's the life.
it's a like I said, it's really cool to be out there. It strips you down of everything.
Literally.
It puts exactly. It puts you in your place, and like I said, I think it's a good way to get to know your truest self. It's miserable out there, and so what's weird is us climbers, we spend a lot of our time working our asses off to then go just get thrashed in the mountains. You know, that's just something that seems to be the way a lot of these really good climbers that don't have sponsorships or whatever, they're working.
But
collar.
thank God you're loaded now.
No, I wish. I wish.
You got the Denali paycheck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish.
So is there a plan for that or no? That's just, you just do this for fun. Like, you don't make any money or do you? Like, how does this
I
work?
think I'm kind of similar. I didn't get into climbing to be like, I'm going to make money off this. I'm going to turn this into a career. And I kind of like that. I don't like the added pressure. I like that this is kind of me riding my own race. So yeah, I don't know. It's
So how do you make money? Because you got these things cost money.
Tree service.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So I run
Thanks, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I give Brandon wood from time to time.
Colton gives me wood from time to time. There we go. There we go.
There's the rest of the title.
Hey, that's a good title.
There's the rest of the title for the show.
Shitting on Denali and giving Brandon wood.
Oh, God. And it's good wood. I mean, I mean, I'll put it out there. It's solid.
It burns real well.
Burns like really well. Yeah.
So yeah, it is hard being a tree climber in the summer months. You're just always above the ground, so it's a lot of exposure in and out of work and play. It's a little bit debilitating at times, but I find it to be, in its own weird way, unique and very gratifying. Once again, I like going against the clock. My job and playing in the mountains, I'm always fighting the clock. I'm so happy to be that place in my life where I'm fighting time. Trying to push everything I can. It sounds crazy, but as an arborist and as a mountain climber, I'm only 26, but I'm feeling it already. So I feel this 4-year window of getting into my 30s. I'm like, you know what? We got to get some pretty big stuff.
Like the day you hit 30, everything falls apart, just so you know.
Well, I'm at least, thinking about it. So.
Yep. Todd and I can talk about that because we're 35. So.
That's it right there.
I figured as much.
So if anybody wants to follow your adventures, do you mind sharing?
Yeah, so I've thought about doing a little bit more intricate write-ups. I think blogs would probably be the best thing. I sometimes think that mountain adventures as an Instagram post, it almost just doesn't do it justice.
Right.
So I think I want to eventually do blogs.
Unless you're walking past a dead body on
yeah,
Everest,
exactly. Then it gets 20,000 likes.
Right.
Yeah, so I think writing is soon to come. I had a lot of fun giving that lecture at Roosters B Street. I think the information and education that goes along with this stuff is something that I want to take part in the future and give back to the community in some way. I've kind of thought about doing a similar idea of doing podcasts and I really want to interview people that do what they do best, and talk about these strategies or these mindsets or whatever.
We're hoping to do that someday.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
But
I have a good idea.
It's
TikTok?
about time.
So mean. Do a TikTok video. I think it'd be a really great opportunity for audiences to connect.
Yeah.
You could do a dance while you're
On
up there.
top of it.
You could do the poopy dance.
I
The
totally
poopy
agree.
dance.
Yeah.
we
And,
actually were hoping to get inflatable pink cowboy hats, That was our goal on Denali.
Yeah.
Didn't end up making it happen.
Ugh.
But
We will sponsor those hats.
Yeah, they'll
That's a great
say
idea.
Course
whatever.
banquet.
Oh, it's a pleasure. We need more time with you, so come back.
okay. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys.
At least I'd
so
say the
much.
same, but I don't know when you're going to be here. So, 'cause
Where are you
it's
heading
like
next?
Yeah.
We
You
gotta
heading home?
set up a Denali adventure. over there.
Yeah. We should tour Ogden in a Denali with nice rims. I mean, that's
Yeah,
what we
that's
should
what-
actually
All of
Next
us
step.
go out on the
Yes.
town.
Yeah. Oh my God. I
No,
love
if you
that.
come back to Utah, you should definitely. Have you snowboarded before? Or?
I haven't. No,
Yeah, you
I
should.
haven't been able to really connect too much with like the mountains and like with like the adventure side of things
Yeah.
here. Just been working on the show, but yeah, I mean, I feel like obviously there's so many opportunities to connect and be out
Right.
in nature and stuff. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, if you come back, give us a holler. We'd love to get
Thanks.
out with you.
thanks. Yeah.
You heading home next? Where are you going next? You going straight to another?
Yeah, I'm going to North Carolina. Going back to North Carolina.
That's home right now. Is
Yeah.
North Carolina.
Mhm.
Gotcha. You looking forward to that?
Yeah, go back home, and I got some more shows coming up, so get back to work. But it's just good to go home,
All right, this will be posted
Thursday at 3. Thursday.
and so it gives you plenty of time to be prepared to come back to the Monarch on
Friday.
Friday
That's
night.
it. Yep.
So
Yeah.
get over here on Friday night,
Check out
listen to some
Lucy's.
good music, and check out the new show at Ogden Contemporary Arts.
Yeah.
And you guys are welcome as well. Swing by, grab a beer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Beers
much,
on
Brandon.
Utah that night, by the way. So, yeah.
We-
Supporting the arts. So I want to say thanks to Utah for supporting Van Sessions. Todd, did you have any updates?
I was up to Finch Gallery. Right now it's kind of an installation week. My previous show, 35 by 35, was an incredible success in every way. So thank you for everybody that was involved with that. That was the 35 artists under 35 years old. And a group called Artists of Utah, online magazine called 15 Bytes, puts that together every 4 years. And well attended, so many new faces. So thanks for sending everybody. And there's about half a dozen artists that still need to pick up your work. Get your ass out of the gallery, pick up your stuff. And then our next show opens a week from Friday. And we'll talk more about that next week. So
My biggest outdoor news is there's a rope on Indian Trail.
Take
So
advantage
you're
of
telling
that.
me no, we need to go climb that.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of rough in that one section. So
Bring your ice screws, maybe.
Oh, I love that stuff so much. Because it is right above that where it's that overlook. And it's right where it overlooks Ogden Canyon. It's a famous It's like the first one before it goes up and you get lost in the canyon. And my sister and I, we have Polaroids of us like faking like we're falling off that other side of that, because it looks like if you take the picture at the right angle, it looks like you drop straight down into the canyon, but you don't. But there's a rock right there, and we had a rope, I think, and everything, and it was like, no, save me, on these Polaroids. That's right there when we were teenagers. I mean, long time ago. I love that. I love that hike. That's a great hike.
Is there a poop crevasse on that hike?
You know, there's gotta be, right? Because
I think there's a dozen or so crevasses up in the intro. I don't know.
Basically, what I'm saying is there's not. So pick up your dog shit and bring it back down.
that is.
Thank you very much.
This is the one thing, Luis. Oh my God! Thank God you didn't know about this, but I'm telling you. So this is Phil. There's this thing that people in Ogden do. I'm sure they do it everywhere, but it's very popular on our shoreline trail. What do you call that? The foothills up there.
Yeah.
Is people always walk their dogs, and then dogs poop, and so they do this wonderful thing, and they pick up their poop and they put it in a baggie, but then they leave the baggie.
I'll grab it on the way back.
They'll grab it on the way back, but
Or not.
Or they don't grab it. Yeah, that's it.
no, but nobody ever grabs it on the way back. So like the poo fairies never pick up the dog poo on the way back, and so there's just bags of poo all over the damn trails up there. Like it's bad. It's bad. We gotta come up with a solution to this. I have one.
Crevasse.
Big crevasse. Yeah.
Crevasse. I'm sorry.
Crevasse. Come on. It's
Baklava.
the dog poo crevasse. Oh, we'll get there. Anyway, that's the worst part about Ogden, really.
I can think of a
best part
couple
of the
other things. But
It's a pet peeve. It's not that.
It is a pet peeve. Oh, that went out. All right. So let's go to let's close it out, shall we? We have, I want to thank the Banyan One, that's the studio, for powering today's episode of Ogden Arts and Adventure Show. Listen and subscribe to Ogden Arts and Adventure on YouTube. That way you can see our wonderful, beautiful faces. Look for us on Facebook, Instagram, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, thebanyancollective.com, and then on the Podbean app as well. Also, if you want to be on this show, DM me, slip into those DMs at Ogden Adventure. And if you find value in this podcast, you can just give us money. Buy us a beer. It's actually Buy Me Coffee, but we have like a buy us a beer thing. buymecoffee.com/Banyan, and you can just donate.
The best next opportunity to come say hi is Friday night.
Thank you.
We will be here at the Monarch doing what we do best, and that is entertaining you and having
With
fun
Van
with
Sessions.
artists. Yeah,
Yep.
so Van Sessions is Friday nights. We have 3 amazing musicians. Do you have those listed there?
Well, it's all female lineup.
Yeah.
So I
gonna
had
look
it
it up,
somewhere.
sorry.
Okay, do you want me to stall?
Yeah, go ahead.
I have nothing.
Well, the first Fridays are incredible as an outsider.
Thank you.
coming into the
nice.
Thank
space.
you, Luis. Take
It's a
over.
really beautiful combination of interviewing with also like the music. No, and I really mean that. We were talking about that earlier. So like the band, the artists, the musicians, they're doing their thing, and then there's a moment of pause, and then you like get to learn more about them, about like where the music comes from, and it's just like it's really refreshing. It feels like you're like on a bonfire, just kind of hanging out, and people.
I
talking
love
about
that.
That's what we try to do.
Yeah.
It warms us.
Nailed it.
Okay, so we have on Friday night, starts at 7. It'll run until we're done. And so that is Christine Baird at 7-ish. Kate McLeod and her band is 7:45-ish. The keyword is ish. It's whenever we get it started. And Emily Hicks' band is around 8:30-ish. And then we do have a special treat for you around 6 o'clock if you're in the area.
Oh, that's right. Lone Pignon.
Lone Pignon. And so they'll be playing around 7:30 upstairs in the big room.
But
Later on in the night.
They'll do a
but
short
they're
set
gonna
with
do
us.
a little early set for us. So it's a great
Yep.
opportunity.
2-3 songs with us. Yeah, that'll be good.
So come hang out.
Speaking of Van Sessions, this is Lord Take Me Away by the Dustbowl Collective as recorded on
good
the
choice.
latest Van Sessions. Yeah, the Dustbowl Collective is this week's featured artist on Van Sessions, and so you should take a listen. We'll see you on the next Ogden Arts and Adventure Show.
Oh, Oh, the sun, it stopped shining. You drove the night in, and I can't help but wonder, is it truth, is it sin? Oh, you can't tell my heart what my mind it knows, and I can't help but stumble down the pews and the rows. Oh Lord, take me away. Oh Lord, take me away. Oh Lord, take me away. Oh Lord, take me away from this god-awful place. Father in heaven, is this hell, is this you? Oh, 'cause down here we're scrambling. How much do we choose? Oh, I'm out here, I'm standing, while the heads are bowed down. We can't hear a sound. Lord, take me away. Lord, take me away. Oh, Lord, take me away. Lord, take me away. From this god-awful place.
Yeah. Dustbowl Collective on Van Session.